Hello, it's all right. We'll just pick up on the second part.
Okay, yeah, no, I just there was Skype stuff coming in. I was beeping in my ear. It was like, yeah, I was putting me off. Okay.
That's
Anyway,
fine.
so the question was, just phrase it
So for
again.
people that that are coming from heavy karma as such, death, rape, abuse,
Yes,
whatever it is, how do
yes,
they begin to
yes.
unbind?
Sure. I mean, there's so many therapeutic modalities that deal with those, from counseling to trauma counseling to, I mean, I work a lot with that homeopathically and like removing the old patterning of it. From a Dzogchen perspective, I mean, the best way to deal with that would be to review one's entire event and to look at it as all one's own creation. It's like, okay, well, why did I create, my mother dying when I was 12? What was the wisdom energy of that? Why would I have created such a seemingly traumatic event in my life? What was the karmic lesson I had to learn? Was it independence? Was it attachment? Really just looking at it quite impersonally. It's like looking at it almost like it was someone else's story and saying, okay, well, if they created this, why would they have created this? See it as a puzzle. It's like, okay, well, what would be the benefit of it? I mean, the example I use it with myself is like, I look at my difficult interaction with my father, and I mean that on the surface at the time it made living at home very difficult, but it forced me out into the world. It kind of made me what I was. It forced me to like take up the mantle for myself. Yeah, basically become the diamond in a sense, because there's no other way to survive. So
Mm.
that that was the wisdom of that. And I mean, yes, people in terms of like stuff like rape and whatever, well, what was their previous karma? What did they bring to this life? What did they need to learn from that? Was it forgiveness? Did they need to, stand up for themselves? Did it prod them to actually get vengeful and actually draw the lines out, won't allow this to happen? Did they then become, paragons of, justice and go out into the world and sort of enforce justice on the world for that? Or did they get crushed by it? And if they got crushed by it, like, well, where's the lesson in that? What did they learn from that? Or is it just, being crushed? I often say people suffer until they've had enough, and then they
Mm.
stop suffering. They stop suffering at their own hands. They say, okay, I will not be a victim anymore of myself. I will not take the shit for myself anymore. I will stand up for myself, and I will actually rise up and I will move forward. But everyone has to hit that point. I mean, almost like the flip side of it would be like the alcoholics and the NA people saying like, "Oh, I give up. I'll turn it all over to God." But like they actually have to admit defeat. Yeah. So, but this is almost like the positive
Right.
aspect. Like they admit that, okay, I'm not going to take shit for myself anymore. I'm no longer going to suffer. I will not suffer anymore. Okay, what does that look like now? What does it mean to not suffer anymore? I will no longer buy into myself as a victim in this whole drama. Yes, I might have had a raw deal, and some people have had really raw deals, and like one can only empathize and try to help them out of it. But to also look at the wisdom of it and say, well, why did this happen? What's the value in it? Why, if I created it all myself, which is I firmly believe and is the core of the Dzogchen teachings, that it's all your own manifestation. If you did that,
Mm.
where is the wisdom in it? Where was the point in this happening? I mean, if just, I mean, for you, with your father leaving when you were younger, I mean, it definitely made you much stronger. It might have given you all sorts of stuff, but it gave you a cause, something to fight against. You went out and whatever, raged against men or whatever initially, and then saw that was like actually just a bit silly, yeah? And
Only
then,
raged
okay,
against men much later.
okay, no, no, for example, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, what
No,
I'm what
I
I'm
know what
saying
you mean.
was
So it's actually
this was
finding the
useful.
wisdom. So that's
Yes.
how you resolve it. It's actually looking at it from the soul's perspective. That's what I
Mm,
would call it. So from the
mm,
soul's perspective of what is the agenda here in terms of learning,
mm,
because what appears to be on the plane of the world, the
mm,
personality realm or whatever, or
mm,
the what it
mm.
appears to be is not always what it is from the
Sure,
soul's perspective. And
sure, sure,
um, so that is definitely a path, a radical path. There's lots of things in there, forgiveness and
sure,
forgiveness of self
sure.
and others, and all those kinds of
Sure.
things. But then also, I think just moving on, letting go,
Moving on.
basically.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've recently come out of a whole drama where I was in full rage towards the other person. And then, I mean, I took quite a lot of the karma burn and various other bits and pieces. And after a while, I was like, that energy just wasn't there anymore. I was like, I almost got tired of it. I was tired of being bound by the energy and the anger I was holding towards this person. And it's like, really, do I need to do this? Don't I have enough, I have enough to do, and just let it go. And then seeing, well, okay, that energy, that anger was potentially useful at the time because it allowed me to focus quite strongly on what I need to focus on. But now the boat's gotten to the other side of the river, and you can let it go. There's no reason to hold on to it anymore. There's no reason to have it as this demon that's like attacking you all the time. It's like it fulfilled its function. It might have been good, it might have been bad, it might have been just showing one that this is the what happens when you buy into the full anger and revenge of the whole thing. And like, but then letting it go, it's like, oh, phew, I actually don't have to play that anymore. It's like the fire burns so hard it almost burns out, you know. And then if something else arises in the future, well, do I really need to hold on to this? I mean, what came up recently and what I saw was, you know, I've recently seen a layer of puff adder come up in me, puff adder the remedy, which is like sitting quite quietly, but then someone stands on you and you bite them, right? But then I'm taking the puff adder and like, oh, okay, I can let all that go. So I don't have to be this like waiting for someone to tread on me so I can bite them kind of person. Like, because it's just a bit silly. I mean, maybe it was useful as a defense mechanism at the time to help me to survive. Who knows? You know, it's all backstory. It's almost like irrelevant backstory, which you can write a book about if you want to, or not, or just tell amusing stories about, because it just becomes storyline. Literally, it's just okay. Well, that's where I came from. That's the state I was in. It's like, wow, I really bought into that suffering, and like, look where it led me. I spent a lot of time. I wasted a lot of time on doing that, and nothing came out of it except my own kind of misery. And then I decided to stop playing it, and it's like, okay, as if it never was. I mean, I do have remedies which definitely help with this. So, you know, if you spot the right state and give it to the person, it definitely helps them to let it go. But just the recognition of it is part of it. Just the letting go. It's like, okay, well, that was cool. And I mean, you know, we talk a
So
lot
you've
about.
got demon remedies.
I've got demon remedies. I have the full range of demon remedies. Yeah. No, I've got God remedies, demon remedies, you name it. Yeah. Rabbit, dog remedies, all of the above. Yeah. I mean, when one's in the grip of anger, one is in the grip of a demon. Yeah. And I mean, the demons come in many forms and they name different plants and animals. But, you know, it's just an extremely powerful defensive energy. It's like an angry energy. But that angry energy, to be in that state when one's house is under attack or one's family is threatened, that is an appropriate response. It's a very useful state to be in. In fact, you need that energy to survive. And if you don't have that, then you'll just get massacred. So to be able to go into that, to protect what you love, and then to come out of it once it's passed, that is the ideal. To ride the demons, to have them, to flay them and wear their coats as, you know, as clothing, so that you display your fine colors. You go fully into the state, and then you come out of it, and then you're back as yourself.
So
Because
all of the
obviously,
images that you might see, like in the various Buddhist or Hindu paths of these Shiva and some of the other beings that wear the skins
mm, mm,
and
mm,
sit on skulls,
mm,
Kali, and have
mm, mm,
the skulls beaded around them.
mm,
Basically, they've conquered. They would have
mm.
conquered
Yes,
realms, right?
yes.
Conquered
Well,
death
often
and
the
various
six
things.
skulls worn around the neck is having overcome the six realms. That is symbolic. When you see the six skulls worn around the neck in a chain, that's like having conquered the six realms, and therefore they keep worn as adornment. And they are being worn as adornment, literally. But it's like you've almost died to the energy of it. You've killed it, you've destroyed it, you've overcome it, you've realized it for what it is as a movement of form. That's all it is. I mean, anger, if you were to ally it with fire, I mean, it's kind of quite a common thing, but no one blames the volcano for erupting. You know, it erupts and then it does whatever it does and then it finishes, right? But if you see your own anger in that way, it's like, yes, I was fully angry, I got into it, I was erupting, and then it died down. And I'm not attaching to that. It was okay, yes, in that state I might have smashed a couple of windows or whatever, but I mean, you know, a bit of collateral damage, never, it's not the end of the world. But it's like that was the result of it. Next time if I go into it, I won't smash the windows because I've got to fix them the next day, you know, hassle there. Hence we learn. So, but the anger itself is not wrong. The jealousy itself is not wrong. These are pure states in themselves. And if we can learn to ride them, to see them as the bubbling up of lava and the passing away of it, then we can quite happily ride them and enjoy the ride. You know, it's like when one puts on angry, violent music. For me, it's almost sometimes it's almost like Beethoven. You know, it's like I can ride it as a pure state, as like a clean burning fire, like a high octane fuel. I can like consume it, burn it, and then let it pass away. There is no conflict. There's no error. There's nothing good or bad about it. It's like a very powerful force which one handles with care. You know, like you're not lighting cigarettes around the petrol pump too often but you can still use the petrol to fuel your Zippo lighter. I mean, there are options here. You know, you can play with this stuff, and it's almost our responsibility to play with it because then it's arising anyway. So you can try to ignore it. The monks would say the lesser path, the Hinayana path would say like, okay, when you feel anger, then think loving thoughts, yeah, or have a vow not to get angry. And if it comes up, quickly think loving thoughts, loving thoughts, loving thoughts, loving thoughts.
Mm,
The tantrikas would be like angry. Okay, well, get fully angry. Become a god, a demon of anger, so that neutralizes it. Homeopathy is
right.
a tantric thing as well. It's like curing like. Dzogchen is saying, okay, anger arises, ride it. Go into it, become it completely and then let it subside, not seeing it as separate from you or any as impure or anything. It's just one of your moods. See it as perfect at that moment, but just at that moment, it arises for whether it arises for a second or a day or a week. But the minute it's finished, its run, you don't attach to it anymore. It's like, okay, yes, I was in a state of anger, but now I'm in a state of happiness, and that's where I am now. That the anger that passed is gone. It's a memory that never happened, and it's not me at that point. Yes, I was fully angry, but that doesn't mean that's me now. Me now is me sitting here chatting to you. So it's really just allowing these things to arise in our reality, not attaching to them, and yet fully engaging them and allowing them to play through us. And then as they disappear, realizing, okay, well, the clouds are gone from the sky. It's a beautiful day again.
That's quite some mastery, I have to say, because I know that we can, from my own experience of when something, a detachment happens of sorts from my form or from my body, or something happens that's completely out of sorts. I had an experience once where I was completely detached from my body and had no sense of myself. I didn't know who I was, no name, no place, nothing. I didn't know what year it was. And I could feel the one aspect of me, like completely detached, and I could feel my personality and my body self, in a sense, freaking out. That
Mm,
that there was no plug-in essentially into
mm,
the
mm,
chemistry of just feeding the bodies, I suppose, the demon in a way. I mean, I would say that the body conquering the body in a sense and all of its
mm,
needs and all of its
mm,
chemistry and all day
mm,
long,
mm,
is very much a part of the mastery, and it's
mm,
easy to um, intellectualize that you've done
mm.
it. And
Yes, yes.
because it's like, oh, well, I'm so enlightened, I'm intellectually enlightened,
Sure, sure,
And
sure,
then
sure.
when it comes down to a moment when you're actually faced with something like really that is tied, a key piece, and obviously on death, we can't really, like, there's no intellectualizing anymore.
Yes. Well, this is the importance of this course. It's kind of sad that so few people have, signed up for it because for me, this is possibly the most important tech you'll ever learn or know about. And it's the one thing that might actually have a chance of saving you when you die. It's like sexuality is all very cute and like rah, 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 but this is like the real nitty gritty. This is going to save your ass right at the end. Yeah. This is the real McCoy. So,
So there won't be virgins dancing
well, if you
naked.
do it right, there will be virgins. But if you do it wrong,
Okay.
there definitely won't be virgins. So, I mean, but this is the tech to do it right to get the virgins,
I
Otherwise,
don't want
yeah.
virgins dancing
Okay,
on
well,
the other side.
you can have whatever you like.
Maybe some naked giants on dragons or something,
Okay, we'll see what we can arrange.
riding their dragons. Um, okay, so let me just be clear. What are the six realms again?
Okay, from the bottom, right? Hell realm. Now the hell realm's energy is anger, right? Once transformed, the hell realm becomes clarity.
So you have to move through the hell realm in this life.
Well, everyone has to move through all the realms, you know.
Okay.
Certain elements, Chinese astrological wise, are associated with different realms. Like water, your realm is hell realm, right?
Okay.
So then the next one up is the hungry ghost realm, which is associated with earth, right? Now, the hungry ghost energy is around not being satisfied, right? So unsatisfied desire. So it's like craving, never getting enough. But its wisdom is abundance. The hungry ghost feels satisfied and it's got so much in its large belly that it gives back to the world, right?
Okay.
The next one up is the animal realm, which is associated with wood, the wood element. Now, the energy of the animal realm is ignorance, right? Classical example, the dog walking into the street being run over by the car, not paying attention, ignoring what's around you or ignoring what's happening, not paying attention. Now, the wisdom energy of the animal realm is instinct, pure instinctual knowing what to do. I know at this moment I need to do that. That's pure animal realm in its wisdom aspect. The ignorant thing is like, oh, I walk into the door because I'm so drunk. I'm not paying attention. But the instinct is like, I duck at that point and a bullet goes over my head because I feel that's what I must do at that point perfectly. Or, the falcon hunting the sparrow. It instinctually knows which way the bird's going to fly or it's got the speed. It doesn't have to think about it. That's the wisdom of the animal realm. Then there's the human realm, which is desire. Yeah. Now that's all desire. Yeah. So it's like under desire would come desire and aversion. So it would be like craving for stuff. It's different from the hungry ghost realm because the hungry ghost realm is about unsatisfied desire. It's like never getting enough. The human realm is around desiring for its own sake. Oh, I need this. I've got to have the next MP3 player or a Samsung S5 instead of an S4 because it's better, or that whole thing. It's really a question of the dancing with desire and like what is it to be able to pluck the lotus without falling in. The next one up is the jealous gods.
Okay.
Now the jealous gods, they say when the jealous gods come to a river, they see weapons. They say the jealous gods are jealous because they're watering the tree from which the golden apples are fruiting and flowering and dropping the apples into the god realm. So they're trying to fight their way into the god realm. But it's that jealousy of other people. You often see it at parties, like at trance parties, when the people who are like not the beautiful people, but one level down from the beautiful people, right? And they want to be the beautiful people, but they'd like almost want to claw down the beautiful people to become them. That's the jealous god thing. Yeah. Now bear in mind we all have these aspects in us. Now, the energy associated with that is fire, right? Fire, the fire element. Now, the top one is the God realm. Now, the God
Okay.
realm is, but the jealous gods, just take a step back, that energy, they become the guardians. They become the protectors of the teaching. So that's their jobs. Like the policemen, they ensure that nothing gets out of whack. That's the wisdom of it. It's like that deciding, yes, this is how we're going to protect the whole structure. So they're the guardians.
Mm.
The top of the pyramid is the God realm, and the God realm is associated with metal, the metal element, and the metal element is about pride. Yeah, it's like, yes, I'm better than everyone, I'm going to look down. But they say the God realm, just before they have their time as a god, but just before they finish as a god, they're still bound on the wheel, and they'll be swept back into hell, and they'll spend, 1,000 years in hell after 1,000 years in heaven. So at that moment when they know they're going to hell, they're suffering intensively. Yes, they've lived large, but now they've got their whole, 1,000 years living as a servant in Bangladesh or something in a terrible situation, whereas they're swept out of Hollywood into Bangladesh. So
So who sits in the God realm? Is it like these bankers that are multi-billionaires and the
but look,
corporates and
it's Brad Pitt, Angelina. This is classic God realm. Yeah, everyone wants to be the jealous gods. Everyone wants to be them or wants to be like them. They're sitting down, beaming down at us, and it's not even their fault. Yeah, it's like that's just the state they're in. And who knows? I'm sure they're actually quite nice people. But it's more the state of like everything is beautiful, But we have to, they say when the gods come to a river, they see nectar flowing. Oh, this beautiful nectar. The same river that the jealous gods will come to and see weapons. The animals will see a river. The humans will see a river. The hungry ghosts will see blood and pus. And the hell realm, they'll see molten fire. Yeah, it's the same river they're looking at. And in a moment, if we change our view, we can see the blood and pus turn into nectar in a moment. But we still don't want to even be bound in the God realm. That's still being bound. We have to be able to dance between all of them, realizing that yes, we are a god, a jealous god, a demon, a hungry ghost, an animal, and a human at the same time. These are all aspects of our nature. We need to integrate all of them and see the wisdom of all of them to rise above them. And then it's multipass. We go where we like, giants riding dragons, whatever you like. It doesn't really matter then. But to be able to not be bound by any of these states, that is what the Buddha is saying when he's pointing off the wheel. He's saying, here's the wheel of conditioned
Right.
existence. Now get out of it. Get off it. Once you're off it, multipass. Do whatever you
And
like.
in a
Yeah.
sense, I mean, I think that if we're going to be in form and we're going to allow ourselves to have form
Mm.
and have a free incarnation, we have to be able to have had. I mean, this is just the same point again, but have had all the experiences, have had
Sure.
all experiences of all the realms. So
Sure.
that's kind of the tantric piece or the breaking of taboos. It's like
Sure.
anything goes,
Mm.
everything's actually been done.
Mm.
All
Mm.
experiences get poured back into this great cauldron or
Mm.
this vat of
Mm.
mind, of kind of the
Sure.
void, in a sense, the mind
Sure.
of creation.
Sure.
And
You
and
know,
then
the
I
one
think
danger.
the mastery, I think, of the realms is really about stepping into them as well. Like,
Mm.
if
Mm.
you're in the God realm, I don't think that until we've become that and mastered that realm, we can be free. I mean, I don't know what you think, but
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's part of
because
it. I
there's
mean,
still
with
this desire, there's still this desire for an
yeah,
unlived experience.
yeah. I think one doesn't necessarily have to do it in real time. If you can do it as almost like as a visual mental offering, if you can go there and be that in that completely, it's almost like you've done it. They say that you can you can give offerings to the totem deities, which are still self, or you can visualize yourself giving offerings. It's the same thing, whether you've done it here or in this format, you've still done it. You've played it out. Now, there's certain situations I might choose not to, put myself into, but I mean, I have to be willing to imagine that occurring and be okay with that. Like going to jail and having hectic shit happen to me there. Like I almost have to visualize that to allow that possibility to remove the fear I have of that. So, we don't necessarily have to throw ourselves into all experiences. There's certain things that might just traumatize us so much, might generate more karma for us. And yes, we could do that, but do we need to? If we're willing to go there, we often don't have to go there. This is just smart thinking. Yeah, and there's certain experiences which, yes, I choose not to engage because I don't necessarily need to, have it. I mean, I know I would survive it, but I mean, where's the learning in it? Yes, I could do it. I could survive it. Yes, it would traumatize me, and it would probably take me a while to de-traumatize myself. And yes, certain things you need to go into and experience, and certain God realm things, yes, you need to experience, but also to realize, okay, well, that'll just be another state. It'll still be me. It'll be just be me with more abundance around, and more access to stuff. But it's still going to be me waking up every morning. Am I going to be happier? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Possibly, probably. But I mean, more capability of suffering as well if that stuff gets stripped away. So it's like not being attached. That's why Buddha was a prince. He walked out of the castle. He's like, no, I don't want this. He had it all. He was in the God realm already, and he was like, okay, I'm walking out there because I see the suffering. I see the
Then
suffering
he
of other
got his
people.
enlightenment and he realized he needs to go back to his wife.
Hey, no, he didn't go back to his wife. No, but his wife was fine. He was benefiting all sentient beings. His wife was a princess. I mean, she had, yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean,
I know.
yeah,
But you know what? There's also this new paradigm of not necessarily having to go away
sure.
for your enlightenment.
No, no, and this is part of the Dzogchen path. It's like, don't change a thing. Be yourself completely. No need to actually sit in a cave or do anything, but do what you continue to do, but do it with the awareness of what you're doing. The going to the cave thing, let me just, because I've gone into this in some depth, is the purpose of a cave is to isolate yourself from attachments so you can actually process them. It's obviously a lot harder to break attachments if you've got people around you who are always pushing you back into a specific role. They want you to be Amanda, their daughter, or their granddaughter, or their therapist, or all of these are roles we're being put into, and they're forcing us to be bound in a specific form. And it's harder to break stuff. It's possible. It's more challenging, but it's harder to break these things if we've got a lot of stuff happening. That's why they talk about the yogis. They say, like, okay, it's good now to go off into a cave or a forest to play out the six realms, to like go crazy and do whatever so people don't see you doing that, and play them out, then come back and teach. But to do it while you're still in society, when you've got your mother hassling you about whatever you need to do for the day, it's often harder to get a bit of clarity, to see yourself apart from all of that. That's the value of that. But to do it in society, hey, more power to one if one can do it. It's more challenging, definitely, but there's more stuff to play with. It's very, the more stuff in the soup. There's more stuff in the kettle to play with. There's more fuel for the fire. So it has value as well. And this is
And I also
why.
think at every aspect of the initiation, in a sense, or in the path, is a different need. So there
Mm,
might be a point at which you really just need to leave everything behind, throw
mm,
everything that you know into the fire, and
mm,
burn it off, and just
mm.
go to nothing, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not your identity, you're not your body, you're not your name, you're not your gender, you're not your sexuality, you're not
Sure.
any of those things. You're not rich, you're not poor, that kind of detachment thing.
Sure.
And then start being able to take the attachments back without as much attachment.
Yes, or without any attachments, but just to
Yeah.
still wield these things. It's like, yes, I'm still a man in this body. I've got a daughter. I mean, these are the environmental situations I find myself in. I'm not necessarily attached to them, but while I'm in it and while I've got this form, I'll play it for what it is because it's perfect as it is. There's no need to alter it in any way. I shouldn't be more of this or less of that. This is where the movie is arising perfectly at this moment. So to engage that and trust that it is perfect at that time makes this whole process a lot easier because if we're fighting against ourselves, it's a battle we can't win. There's no need to fight against yourself if you work with yourself to realize that it is all perfect. And that, yes, if you need to make a few tweaks here and there on board, then so be it. But it's like there's no need to scrap the entire thing and change yourself completely because you've constructed this. You spent a lot of time building this particular form, so not being attached to it, but it's functional. It works. So that's what you got. So enjoy it because and use it as a tool for liberation because it might not be here forever. That's the importance of the death stuff. That like you can die at any point. So make sure that you're prepared because if it comes down you don't want to be caught out. You don't want to be caught out in the rain that's freezing cold. You might just die. And if you die, are you ready to, do you have confidence in your liberation that you won't just be bound into another cycle of conditioned existence and get possibly even a worse reincarnation or the same one and have to do this whole movie again? Like the idea
Oh,
of having to
I
go
don't
back.
want that.
Exactly. The idea of having to go back to school again. I mean, that's like more. That's
No
enough to make
way.
one jump off a cliff
Another
already.
reincarnation into
No,
some
no, screw that.
family with other karma and
Yeah.
someone else's ancestral
And
patterns
high
and new
school.
learnings
Fuck
and
high school.
no
I'm not doing high
thanks.
school ever again. Yeah. Hated high school.
It's
Not doing that
interesting.
again.
I just listened to, and we'll have to end in a couple of minutes, but I just
Oh.
listened to someone on YouTube. I can't remember his name. Someone Ramon, who spoke about some out of body experiences that he had, where he traveled through what he called the realms. It was kind of like seven heavens in a way, what he
Mm,
called them, which is different to what you're talking
mm.
about, I think. Um, and he could see in these heavens that there was these, they were almost like skins of frequencies, like
Yes,
moving
yes.
up the frequency levels all the way up to kind of like a point zero, and then where form begins,
Mm,
and then beyond that, which is the void, which is formlessness, But
Yes.
then coming down through these kind of skins or these like seven heavens, in a sense, as different frequencies into manifestation, there was also what he could see is people caught up in these like pods having their reviews, and they were kind of caught up in this movie, this projected movie. They were reviewing their lives and stuff like that. And he said he could see that they were totally 100% in that reality
Mm,
of reviewing their lives and knowing that they had to reincarnate. That was just
mm,
what he felt about them. And yet he
mm,
was on the outside looking at that and
mm,
free of those of needing to have the review.
mm,
And it's, I think in some ways that might be what the
mm,
Tibetan Book of the Dead
mm,
does. It's like, okay, you've
mm,
had your review, you've reviewed your
mm,
life, you've
mm,
lived
mm,
as an impeccable life, as brave, as gutsy a
mm,
life as possible.
mm.
Have, you know, have some, what's it called, like respite from that.
Yeah, yeah. Time out.
Go straight to the void and hang out for a while.
Yes. Yeah, or just become part of everything, and then if you choose to reassume form, do it as okay. Well, now I'm going to choose to come back as a bodhisattva or a Buddha in order to benefit beings because I want to do this because it's out of my compassion. It's what I choose to do, or not, or sit as the sun for like a million years and burn away. I mean, it doesn't matter, but to have that option, I think, is very important. Otherwise, we're just like sheep being driven around this wheel. It's like, okay, now you got to go back here to sort this out because you didn't sort this out because you had issues with your father or your mother or blah, who knows, whatever. After a while, it just becomes gratuitous. It's like time for us to get off this wheel, and that's why I see the importance of this course in particular to actually show people what death represents as a juncture and to prepare ourselves for this juncture, given that it can occur at any time. Not something to fear, but it's to make it our final celebratory dance, to make it the pinnacle of our existence. We die knowing we've lived a good life and we've done everything we've needed to do, and we feel satisfied. And it's yes, it could have continued, but it didn't, and we're not attached to the fact that it didn't continue. And this is where I am now, and this is where I choose to reassume form because I've done enough that I'm not buying into this whole movie, so I'm free. That's really what. Yeah, that's it.
Yay!
Rah, giants
That's
riding
why we
dragons.
got the roulette wheel aspect in there, because one of my disciplines is like how to not make this roulette wheel a gamble. You know what I mean? Like life.
Yes, yes,
Like
yes.
if our life is a roulette wheel, can we actually control it?
Yeah, I know, and the odds on roulette are horrible. It's like any good gambler won't get anywhere near roulette.
Yeah, well, there's a trick,
Is
conquering the
there?
6 realms of roulette.
Sure, no, no, totally. I mean, you definitely want to have a fix on the inside, yeah. Or a little pedal that stops the
Because
thing, and
I'll
it's
tell you what it is, and then we really need to end. We'll pick it up
yeah,
in the
yeah.
next interview. But there's a concept that you're not living on one timeline. We're
Mm,
shifting between timelines of creation according to what we're holding in our mind as our outcome or as our wish all the time. So the world is basically reorganizing itself around our focus. And so
yeah.
if we're focused on something, that is the way that things flow for us.
Mm,
And so it's kind of like this multi-level parallel universe experience. Every second, every
mm,
moment, we're being reorganized into our current state.
mm,
And if you are focused, the roulette wheel is just an example, but if you are focused on moving into a timeline of a win and you're absolutely
mm,
100%
mm,
coherent with that,
mm, mm,
both focus and
mm,
materialization of that,
mm, mm, mm.
I don't see how it's any different from reading the Book of the
Mm.
Dead and getting
Sure.
to complete enlightenment.
Sure. No, it's I mean, something in what you said there is the key to that is like 100% focused, to not sit in doubt at any point because if
No,
one goes into doubt, then one goes down a whole track of like destabilizing the visualization and then it's like you're in a horrible place again. So you
doubt
have
is
to
a
believe.
demon.
You have to you
Doubt
have to
is a
know.
demon.
No, that's it. You got to hold firm. Yeah.
No.
Okay, I've got to go now. I've got a
All
patient
right.
coming. So yeah, maybe we'll pick this up later. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I'm looking forward to chatting to you again.
Cool, Amanda.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.